Currently at Penn State, there is only 2 racks of sweat-free apparel that is offered that has the Penn State logo on it in the Penn State Bookstore. And that's really upsetting because 2 racks is not a lot. And the rest of it, unfortunately, of the Penn State clothing is produced in factories where workers' rights are not respected, where women have forced pregnancy tests, where people have to work overtime, and where they're basically making poverty wages. And what we just did in the bookstore was we did a small action where we had a makeshift radar, and we went throughout the bookstore and kind of moved the radar over brands like Nike and Under Armour and Gildan and made a negative sound. And then we passed the radar over Altagracia and made a positive beeping sound because Altagracia actually is a living wage union factory. Ding, 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 ding. Woo! Woo! Altagracia, what's Altagracia? The only apparel in this bookstore that isn't made in sweatshops.
This past week they came in and were kind of, I suppose one could call it confrontational. I don't think it was really that heated at times, but mostly because my frustration was twofold. A, it was unexpected. B, it was disruptive to the floor, which I suppose that was part of their intent. And my biggest disappointment and why I was probably as frustrated as I was that it was just the wrong day to be here for that. We had a lot of visitors on campus who were somewhat fragile. It was the day that Joe service or his viewing was being held. And the bottom line is, without athletics and Joe and all that's been built up here, we wouldn't even have this as a topic of conversation because it wouldn't be as big as it is.
When we actually got to talk with bookstore manager Steve Falke, he seemed to not want to discuss with us. He told us to not drop off anything else at his office. Last week we dropped off a similar letter outlining things that he had agreed to at least attempt to do last semester, including putting a TV in the bookstore that would loop the video about Altagracia to make sure that people coming into the bookstore are aware of why Altagracia is different than the other brands.
This has not been an easy couple of months in terms of product sales. It just hasn't. So, you know, we have been asked by student representation from USAS that, you know, we demand that you buy a quarter of $250,000 worth of garments from Altagracia. That would be a lovely thing if I thought I could sell it. I mean, we're all about selling. But just to bring it in and clog up inventory for 6 months, a year, 2 years would be irresponsible for this organization, but more importantly, it would be irresponsible for the factory, because we would all of a sudden put them up on high production capability and then take the legs right from under them when we stop buying it. The most important thing we can do in building a business like this is to ensure that it's sustainable over time. Because those people in that factory down there, they're counting on people like us to be there down the road for them. And if we don't do it in a financially responsible manner, then we could let them down. And I would never want that to happen, nor would we as a company, nor would Penn State ever want that to happen. So I think, you know, their intentions are good. I would never take that away. But I think there's a big step between intentions and execution that actually is meaningful.